All right, let's dive in. We are going to unravel a story that spans 250 years. It's all about power, ambition, and the wild shifts in dynasties in medieval Egypt. And you know what's amazing? This whole epic tale, it comes directly from these incredible handwritten historical notes.
Just look at this. Every single page here, it documents a crucial moment in this huge battle for control. So where do we start? Well, our story kicks off not just with a conquest, but with the founding of a brand new city, one that would become the very heart of an empire. We're talking about Cairo.
So you might think Cairo was always the center of Egypt, right? But before Cairo, there were other capitals. When the powerful Fatimid dynasty rolled in from North Africa, they knew they couldn't just take over the old spots. No, they needed to build something totally new, something grand, to really stamp their authority on the place and show the world who was in charge.
Yeah, as you can see here, Cairo definitely wasn't the first Islamic capital in Egypt. It came after a whole line of others, Fustat, Al-Asqar, Al-Qataya. But when Cairo was founded in 969, it was different. This was a pivotal moment, a real turning point. It was a conscious, deliberate break from everything that came before.
And the name just says it all, doesn't it? Al-Qahira, the victorious. I mean, come on, this wasn't just a new place to live. It was a massive statement. This city was designed from scratch to be the political and military heart of a brand new Shiite caliphate. It was a direct challenge to their rivals, the Sunni Caliphate over in Baghdad.
Okay, so you build this incredible, victorious city. You're on top of the world, right? Well, not so fast. Even the most powerful dynasties, ruling from the most powerful cities, they eventually run into trouble. And for the Fatimids, the threat wasn't just coming from their enemies outside, it was brewing right inside their own palaces. You could feel the power starting to shift.
And this is where the power dynamic gets really interesting. Over about 100 years, the Fatimid Caliph, the guy who was supposed to be the absolute ruler, he slowly became more of a symbolic religious figure. The actual power, the control of the armies, the state, all of that, it shifted over to his powerful military viziers.
This kind of internal weakness couldn't have come at a worse time. Seriously, it's 1168, and a Crusader army is marching on Egypt. They're threatening the city of Fustat, which was still a huge commercial hub right next door to Cairo. And the vizier, the guy who's actually in charge, he's suddenly facing an absolutely impossible choice.
So what does he do? He makes a truly drastic decision to stop all the wealth of Fustat from falling into Crusader hands. And to stop them from using it as a base to attack Cairo, he gives the order to burn the city to the ground. The fire, they say, raged for 54 days. Just try to imagine that. An absolute catastrophe that created this huge power vacuum right in the heart of Egypt.
And into this chaos, right into the smoke and the ashes of Fustat, steps a figure who's about to change everything. Not just for Egypt, but for the entire Middle East. His name was Salah al-Din al-Ayyubi. You probably know him better as Saladin.
Salah al-Din's rise to power was just incredibly fast. He shows up as a commander in a foreign army. Boom. Within 2 years, he's the vizier. 2 years after that, he gets rid of the Shi'i Fatimid Caliphate entirely. He switches Egypt's allegiance back to the Sunni Caliph and declares himself the first sultan of a whole new dynasty, the Ayyubids. So first, he locks down his rule in Egypt, and then he turns his attention to the Crusaders. And his victory at the Battle of Hattin in 1187, it's the stuff of legends. It let him recapture Jerusalem, and that cemented his status as a hero all across the Islamic world. He wasn't just a ruler anymore. He was the founder of a powerful new empire.
So Salah al-Din sets up this powerful dynasty. The question is, how did the Ayyubid sultans who came after him hold on to power? Well, they came up with a new kind of military force. And let me tell you, it was a decision that worked incredibly well in the short term. But it would end up having some, let's just say, unforeseen and fatal consequences down the line.
They created an army of Mamluks. The word Mamluk literally means one who is owned. We're talking about young boys, usually of Turkic origin, who were purchased, converted to Islam, and then put through this intense training to become an elite military corps. Now, what's really crucial to get here is that this created this unique slave dynasty system. It was a path where someone who was brought in as property could actually rise through the ranks to become the most powerful general or even the ruler of the whole state. It's wild.
And this is exactly where the Mamluks really proved their worth. The Ayyubid Sultan, Al-Saleh, he relied on them heavily. So when the Seventh Crusade, led by King Louis IX of France, comes knocking and invades Egypt, who do you think formed the backbone of the defense?
Yep, these elite Mamluk soldiers.
And the thing is, the Mamluks didn't just win. They won spectacularly. They defeated a massive European army and, get this, they captured the King of France himself. Can you imagine? This incredible victory gave them huge prestige, tons of confidence, and a very, very real sense of their own power. They knew right then and there that they were the true defenders of the state.
All right, let's get to the final act of this whole drama, because you can probably see where this is going. We're going to see how this brand new power dynamic led directly to the downfall of the Ayyubids. The very protectors of the throne were about to become its single biggest threat.
So after this huge victory, the new Ayyubid Sultan, turned Shah, starts getting a little nervous about how powerful the Mamluks are. He tries to push their commanders to the side. Big mistake. The Mamluks felt like their new status was being threatened, and they did not hesitate. In 1250, they just turned on their master and assassinated him. And just like that, Ayyubid rule in Egypt was over.
Now, what happens next is pretty remarkable. In all the chaos that followed the assassination, Shajar al-Dur, who was the widow of the previous sultan, was actually proclaimed the new ruler. Now, a woman on the throne, that was incredibly rare and super controversial, but she was skillful and she managed to navigate the crisis and hold the whole state together.
But her rule didn't last long. To make the Mamluks' power grab official, they needed a political solution, and they found one. Shajar al-Dur married the Mamluk commander, a guy named Aybak, who then became the first Mamluk sultan. And that marriage, that was it. It formally ended one era and kicked off the next, a new dynasty, born from the very soldiers who were created to protect the old one.
And that brings us to a final thought, doesn't it? You have this 250-year cycle. The Fatimids are replaced by the Ayyubids. The Ayyubids create the Mamluks to protect them, and then the Mamluks overthrow them. So it just begs the question, who or what would one day rise up to overthrow the Mamluks? It's just a perfect example of how history works, right? The solution to one generation's problem so often becomes the seed of the next generation's crisis.